Good evening and welcome to Behind the Mystery, the show that pushes your brain to the limit on all things mysterious. My name is Miles Anthony.
And my name is David Richardson. And this week we'll be looking into the Barron Trump time travel conspiracy and the JFK assassination. We'll also be sending a viewer to test their detective skills in the forensic field.
Here's what you can expect to see from the show today. Let's take you back to November 22nd, 55 years ago. Let's set the scene. It's 12:30 p.m., a bright November day in Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy and his wife ride along in an open-top limousine. Suddenly, gunshots rip through the air, and America's most powerful man was no more.
We know JFK was shot at 12:30 p.m. and subsequently died at Memorial Parkland Hospital. About 70 minutes later, former US Marine Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested and charged with the murder of JFK, also about 70 minutes after the shooting. Strangely, 2 days later, with live TV cameras rolling, Oswald was on his way to county jail when he was fatally shot by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. Oswald was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead, and Ruby was sent to prison, where he died 4 years later.
The Warren Commission concluded, after a 10-month investigation, that Oswald acted alone in the killing of JFK. Another report laid out the facts as the shots were fired from the 6th floor window at the southeast corner of the Texas Schoolbook Depository. The shots were fired by none other than Lee Harvey Oswald. There's no evidence that Oswald or Ruby were part of any conspiracy, domestic or foreign. However, shockingly, an analysis of audio recordings suggests that there was a second gun used during the incident. A poll conducted in 2004 suggested that 80% of Americans still suspect there was some sort of plot or cover-up surrounding JFK's death.
The most common theory is that there was a second gunman firing from the grassy mound as the president passed. By looking at rare footage showing the event, you can see JFK's head flying backwards, suggesting he was shot from the front. So, what don't we know about the assassination? Well, no one kept a written record of Oswald's interview, which leaves a lot to be unknown, and of course arouses suspicion. It was the assassination of a president, and standard protocol was not followed. Is that possible? But why would the government kill their own president? The theory goes that JFK was planning to withdraw from Vietnam and the Cold War. Supposedly, too many companies had begun to depend on the war, and the economy would have suffered huge losses if JFK had continued.
But the red flags don't stop there. No one can explain Ruby's lone wolf attack on Oswald, which was guaranteed suicide for him, but his sudden death still remains a mystery years later. There's also the case of the Umbrella Man.
Oh, Umbrella Man, eh?
It was a sunny day, yet a man can be seen holding an umbrella. Why? Was he signalling to a gunman? So what do you think? Did Oswald act alone, or was he part of a wider conspiracy?
That was intriguing. Remember to tweet us at _BTM show with the mysteries you would like to see. But on with the show. It's time for one of our viewers to attempt to deconstruct a crime scene we've created with the help of Bournemouth University's forensic team.
Hello and welcome to this week's forensic segment of the show. This week we have a brand new crime scene for our contestant to investigate. If you know what's going on at home, please tweet us at _BTM show. Without further ado, let's get on with it. So let's introduce you to this week's contestant. So, what is your name and where do you come from?
Dan from Southampton.
So Dan tweeted in last week and here he is on today's show. So Dan, before I let you into the crime scene, there are a few things I need to tell you about.
Okay.
First of all, I need to wear these gloves. While on the crime scene, I need you to not touch any evidence at all. It is all laid out for criminal investigation. The gloves mean that if you do touch the thing, nothing is tampered with.
Okay.
You are freely allowed to walk around the set, but please do not touch anything, or if you do touch or knock anything, let us know. So, let's get started. Okay, Dan, so what are your first impressions of the scene?
Well, there's a woman on the floor that is dead. There's a knife next to her. Some obvious signs of drug and alcohol use. Sofas are pretty tatty, but everything's kind of everywhere, so it looks like there could have been quite a few people here. Some photos and flowers knocked over and stuff. It must have been something distressed or potentially someone else involved. That's my first impressions, really.
So let's start with the victim. Anything you can tell about the victim we have here?
She has some blood on her face and her arm. She's obviously dead, lying backwards, so she might have been pushed potentially. Yeah, I guess that's it. Missing a shoe. She's obviously been here for a while.
So first of all, we can identify that the victim is a female. That is a good start in the crime scene. So, as Dan pointed out, we have a knife wound to the left arm and a gash to the left side of the face. So what can you tell us about the clothes she's wearing, perhaps? Or about where the blood is, what side of the face, what kind of injury it might
The
be?
clothes are pretty tatty. Holes everywhere, they don't look new, they don't look expensive, so she obviously doesn't necessarily have too much money. Cut and blood is on the right side of the face, which obviously means that she's probably been hit by something on the right side of the face, same as the arm, and that's where the knife is. So, pretty much right side injury. There's not a lot on the left side of her face, and her right shoe is missing as well.
What do you think that could imply?
Who knows? Maybe the serial killer likes to take shoes.
Could be, could be.
But yeah, apart from that, that's about it.
Right, so from the looks of the lack of shoe here, lack of clothing can imply a couple of things. That can either mean it's sexual assault or just sort of general aggravation and assault. Now, the shoe being off could imply what you said, a serial killer, but sometimes that is not always the case. In a case like this, where there's also alcohol and drugs, that can more assume sexual assault of some description. Okay, Dan, that's enough about the victim. Let's take a look at some of the things on the table. So what can you see on this table?
Empty bottle of alcohol, half empty one. I'm noticing that there's two of everything, which could suggest that there was just one more person here, not a few people here. Things have obviously been knocked over, the flower pot's been knocked over, so it's always been shunted in some way. And that's about it, really.
So well done, you pointed out the alcohol. So the fact that alcohol bottles are empty and one being drunk a lot of implies excessive alcohol consumption, which sometimes and can lead to aggression, which may be what happened here, but we can't tell really. The pipes being two of them, are you going to imply that it was two people or three people?
Probably two. I'm guessing that she might have got in on whatever happened here.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say probably two. There's also two forks under that pillow, so.
Okay, now you see the entire scene. Why don't you run us through what you think happened?
So it seems to me like there's obviously been a lot of alcohol and drug use in this. I still think there's only two people involved, the woman and someone else. From what it looks like and the way that everything's fallen and the way that she's laying, I would have said that there would have been a disagreement over in this area. A knife wound on the arm and potentially a punch or some hit to the face. She's fallen this way and probably hit her head on the table, which is potentially the reason why she's died. Obviously suggests that everything's fallen in this way, and I think that's about it.
Okay, cool. So let's run through what actually did happen. And I'll start off with this sofa here. The cushion is taken off. From that, we can assume that there was a struggle here. Perhaps the victim was taken straight off the sofa, knocking this. That may have also been the reason why these have been knocked onto the floor. If we look at the victim, this knife here has caused an injury to her left arm, but the injury on the side of her left face is not from the same knife. That is more of a blunt injury, so that is most likely from the corner of this table. Now you're right to assume there's a struggle in this location, as we can see that she's fallen backwards. The fact she has fallen backwards so sort of straight means that she was pushed this way. All the drugs and alcohol, as you said, point out that the excessive consumption of alcohol mean there was aggression. The drugs also mean there could have been some aggression as well. The knocked over things also assume that there was another struggle somewhere else, perhaps there, where the cushions and the picture frames are also knocked over. Also, from the amount of people that we can take from this, there's two of thing that assumes there's two people. What we can take from this is that potentially this is domestic abuse. Now, because we have no trace of any perpetrators, we cannot assume the gender or anything of the actual assailant. So at the moment, we all know it's a female victim. We can't tell whether it's a male or female assailant. So this is most likely domestic abuse. In the terms of the scenario, the home, and the sort of circumstance we're in, I think we can safely assume this is a domestic abuse scenario. Also, from the neck of these bottles, we might find some saliva samples, which may further include some DNA samples we can use. What we can further look at is, when we know the name of this victim, if we look at who else shares this house with her, we may be able to find out her partner, male, female, whatever. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. Join me next week to look at a brand new crime scene.
Now, Donald Trump is a polarizing figure, but he might just be a time traveler. A recent Twitter theory has suggested that the whole Trump family might be time travelers. Joining us on Skype today is Danny Mortimer, our series producer who has researched into this conspiracy theory. Danny, are you with us?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us, Danny. Could you give us a breakdown of some of the key points for this theory? Where does it start?
Okay, so the key piece of evidence really for the theory starts in the 1890s. A lawyer and writer called Ingersoll Lockwood writes a series of kind of stories regarding the last president, and others kind of regarding a boy called Baron Trump who travels through some time-traveling caves that are located in Russia.
Sorry, Dan, that is some cracking stuff there. I'm just going to stop you there because I think this deserves to go on the mystery board.
Yep, I agree with that. Yep, on the mystery board.
Now,
So
carry
yeah,
on.
Young Baron Trump in the kind of story, you see a picture of him and he looks really quite a lot like Donald Trump's son, who is also, of course, called Baron Trump.
The one now, the one now we're talking about, yeah?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So
okay.
The modern day Baron Trump looks very much like the character in the story that you see an image of in the book. But the spelling's slightly different, so there's kind of some debate about whether Ingersoll Lockwood's seen it as perhaps a prophecy or whether he's come into contact with the time-traveling Trump family at some stage.
Right, okay. And what more, is it just that one fact? I mean, is it the fact, that this guy looks like the son of Donald Trump now, or is there more to this?
Oh, there is so much more to this.
Oh, really?
So much more. It's a joyous
The
news.
theory goes so.
I think so.
Right, okay.
Crack on with it, Dan. What more have you got for us?
Yeah, what have we got?
So in the stories about Baron Trump, he's given some information regarding how to time travel by a character whose name happens to be Don.
Don't lie to us, Dan. Do not lie to us. That is, what a conspiracy.
Well, of course.
That is
Don.
insane.
Yeah, so there's kind of that looser link there. And of course, the caves that Baron Trump travels through time, they weren't discovered at the time, but at the location described in the books, there are genuinely caves that can be found there, some of which are believed to be more man-made structures than kind of natural occurrence structures.
And these are in Russia, yeah?
Yes, these are in Russia.
These are in Russia. Whereabouts in Russia are we talking here?
I don't know that off the top of my head, unfortunately. But
Do they not give us any information on that?
it does provide the information. It was passing information more than
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
something that I ingested.
Okay, that's fair enough. We'll let you off this time. Carry on then for us.
Yeah. So the character Baron Trump, we get kind of a description of where he lives, and it's particularly interesting because he lives on 5th Avenue in New York, which, of course, is where Trump Tower now stands.
Get out of here,
So,
Dan.
Wow. Okay.
Get
Baron-
out of here.
Character lives on
That-
5th Avenue. Trump Tower
Insane.
is.
Carnage. Carnage.
So yeah, that's two pieces of kind of locational information that kind of support the theory in a real world kind of way.
Right, okay. And is there more?
That's all I've got for that first book, The Tales of Baron Trump.
Okay.
There's another? Is there another book?
Yeah, so this author...
Mike. Gosh.
Ingersoll Lockwood wrote 3 books. Two of them
okay.
centre around this Donald Trump conspiracy. Another one based on the studies of the occult. So the occultist, which of course kind of lends to the idea that this had further information.
So we're just losing you there slightly, as you say each of your words.
Just wondering, Dan, what is the title of this book that is in question?
So it's called The Last President.
It's called The Last President.
Yeah, The Last President. That's what he said.
My word.
The Last President.
But it holds 2 titles, that and 1900, which kind of refers to the year 1900 where there was an election, but also goes deeper than that, maybe refers to a change in the world time period, so the kind of millennial, the change of century kind of thing.
And am I right in thinking that there's a mention of Nikola Tesla in this as well?
Well, Tesla kind of is, again, more of that kind of founded real world kind of part of it. So Donald Trump's real uncle, John Trump, who was a very, very successful scientist
right.
Around the 1940s, the same kind of time that Nikola Tesla was doing a lot of his work.
Yeah.
Around this time, when Tesla died, John Trump was chosen to read the papers that Tesla wrote. Some of them were kind of surrounding time travel, others teleportation, energy, kind of all the kinds of things that Tesla studied and wrote papers about. John Trump was the first person to be given access to these papers on behalf of the government.
Right, okay. Wow, that's quite something. Because obviously, Nikola Tesla was obviously meant to have created a time machine. That was one of the things, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, so Tesla kind of experimented in that in a theoretical way. But then I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the Philadelphia experiment. So it's theorized that the government used this technology and made a boat disappear off the coast of Philadelphia.
Right.
And that kind of linked in. It's a very different theory, but it's kind of, it links in a way that technology was used and could be similar technology to that of the time machine that Tesla would invent.
That is shocking.
That's quite
stuff,
Dan. That's quite something. And I also believe
Wow.
that Mike Pence was also mentioned, the Pence family.
Yeah, so Pence is, of course, the second in command. He's vice president in America.
Yep.
And in the book, a character named Pence is named in a slightly different role, but is named as part of the cabinet of the president in that book, who is called Brian. Right. Which some people kind of think links into Baron and that kind of name convention kind of thing. So it's
wow. So
if it was
that's quite a coincidence then, isn't it? I suppose
that is, yeah. But I mean, on that logic, I mean, Brian and Baron. I mean, on that logic, anything could add with anything, no?
I do see your.
Yeah.
But the theory kind of posits that Ingersoll Lockwood had prophecies or came into contact with them. So the prophecies idea behind this.
So who was
lesser information.
So who was this man behind the theory? Ingersoll Lockwood, his name. So could you tell us a bit more about him?
So yeah, he was a lawyer and writer in the late 1800s. And was believed to be an occultist. So that means that kind of he studies kind of more psychological and philosophical elements of the world. So other occultists, Isaac Newton and people like that, were studying these things in a very different way, creating really important scientific discoveries and pieces of art as well.
Right, okay. Wow. No, that's quite something. So this whole thing is going around the face of one guy looking like another guy in now, and there being a connection to the surname, obviously, and then the mention of Pence, and I think you mentioned something about Fifth Avenue as well. Is that right? And that's what the whole thing goes around, and it's been found in caves in Russia.
Yeah, so caves in Russia are mentioned in the Baron Trump story.
Right.
But at the time book written, these caves that are in Russia weren't discovered, but were discovered in a very similar location to that which was described in the modern day. So those caves do exist.
Sorry. So the author of this book, The Last President, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. He was Russian? Is that
no?
Sorry?
He was American.
He was American. So did he then go to Russia to discover these caves? I mean, are these caves quite... I mean, could I walk into that cave tomorrow? Sort of thing, or...?
I don't know a lot about the caves. I know that they weren't discovered by him. They were discovered later than after publishing day. I don't think it's anything to do with the discovery.
Right, okay. Because, I mean, the whole thing's a bit... It's a bit weird, isn't it? Because, obviously, you've got... Everything is obviously connected to America, but yet the caves were found in Russia.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm sort of struggling with, that bit there.
So the caves were discovered in Russia, but were described to be in Russia. So this author, Ingersoll Lockwood, describes caves that weren't discovered in a place where they are really there.
Yeah.
So does that kind of make more sense to you? He's kind of prophesied these caves being in this place.
Right. Okay. No, I sort of see where you're sort of coming from there. Okay. And I mean, is there anything else within this book or books, trilogy, I should say, really, shouldn't I, that has anything else to do with this?
I think it's kind of interesting to note that in The Last President, that a civil war breaks out because the North and South kind of disagree on their viewpoint of this president that's been elected completely out of the blue. They weren't expected to win this election, and yet they did, and that kind of obviously bears great parallels to that of Donald Trump, who was completely not expected to win his election but somehow did.
Right. That's absolutely fascinating. Do you think? Absolutely fascinating. Do you think?
This is a cracking theory, I must say.
Yeah. There are some kind of ideas around the campaigns that they ran as well. So Brian, the president in The Last President, runs a campaign against the rich, but is a very wealthy man, and kind of...
No, that's cool. That's cool. All right,
the opposition is funded.
Sorry, Dan. Sorry, we're running out of time here, mate. Sorry. Thank you so much for...
Thanks a lot there.
Thank you very much.
Dan, you really shed light on a incredible mystery.
Wow, it's quite on there. Yeah. No, it's quite a bit there.
Thanks a lot.
No, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Cheers.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. What was your favourite part of the show? Let us know by sharing your thoughts on Twitter, and don't forget to tweet us at BTM Show. And if you can't wait until next week, take a look at our Instagram to see some exclusive behind the scenes of Behind the Mystery. Be sure to use our hashtags for a chance to be featured on our show. Hashtag Behind the Mystery with BTS with BTM, Behind the Mystery, and BABTM special guest.
Now, that's it for today. We will see you next week to talk about smart and artificial technology, where we'll also bring you a new crime scene to look at. Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.